So that's one of the parts of this which I think is interesting, because I suppose a pure GitOps version of this, you would see every test deployment would be a version increment in your Git repository. Every staging one would be another increment in your Git repository, and so on. But in this integration, you still see all of your crucial changes, but you just don't necessarily see every small increment, right?
Hmm. Yeah, you can set it up that way, certainly, that where you're not going to see every possible little change inside of your Git repository. Uh, it's also really interesting because you kind of touch on a point of should actually those manifest files should they exist in the same repository as your application source code? And this is actually a question a question that comes up quite frequently. And because when you have it exist in the same repository as your source code, you could potentially make a change to your source code that inadvertently could maybe change production, because not to your source code but to that repository. If I make any sort of change to that repository, something from production is linking back to it, and that's the Argo CD application. And so then there's this question of should you actually separate these out? Is that more of the best practice at that point? And then back to your point of does this then muddy up my commit history? That's another way of kind of avoiding that situation where I only want to see the important things that happen with my source code, but at the same time, uh, I don't want to again muddy up, but I want to have this commit history. So it's kind of it's this weird dichotomy that I guess we kind of have to live. I want to say live with, but it's kind of solve for, and making sure that you kind of understand that the pros and the cons of either approach.